This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Okay, welcome to Drinking with Authors. I am your host, Erica Lance. With me today is
Vanessa Valiente.
And our guest today is Gabi Justice. Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking. Gabi, you get the first show that I'm doing this on, but we now have a Drinking with Authors shot glass.
Ooh.
I'm gonna do a shot, and it is cucumber lime vodka with a splash of cranberry. See, it's a little pink, and in case anybody's wondering, it's not fruit punch. Cranberry didn't help. Okay, Vanessa, what are you drinking? I also have a backup, my normal Drinking with Authors cup, which is the vodka, cranberry, but soda water, which will make that so much better. Oh, that was a terrible plan.
Yeah.
Should have thought of that before.
Yeah, I'm not as cool as Erica, but I do have my little Drinking with Authors cup, and I have vodka and water. So just trying to tone it down a little bit.
Your vodka water is toning down a little.
Tone it down with the water, but it's still vodka, so it doesn't matter.
That's just Vanessa making up shit. Okay, Gabi, what are you drinking?
Well, I'll start by telling you I can't do shots because been not good.
I should not have done that shot either. That means
I made 2 drinks, and It's holiday season now. I know not only when this airs, but so I used cider, apple cider. Ooh. We get good homemade cider at this place that brings down Christmas trees from Wisconsin. So I put that in with some Rodney Strong Cab, and I got my apples. And look at this cute little guy. I forgot I had him. But you put the allspice in there, and then you put him.
Oh my God, I love that.
Cute, right?
This is adorable. This is way better than what we're doing.
So festive and fun. I love it.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
My other one is also apple cider with this sparkling white. It's called Brut Cuvée.
Ooh.
I got it we have a local store called Book and Bottle. You guys are close to me, so you're probably, but anyway, they got all sorts of cool stuff. And I have it in my cup that says Drunk Wives Matter.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, so Gabi, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what you write?
I write YA contemporary romance, and I also write paranormal romance.
Very, very cool. But words. There was a shot involved with that. It's fine. It's fine. I got it. When did you start writing?
I guess really 10 years ago. I graduated with an English degree, and I wrote a couple things, and they're still in my drawer. And then I wrote advertorials for magazines, and I took a long break and had kids and was a mom, and then decided when my kids were starting to get older, I was going to definitely finish that novel I always said I would finish.
And that novel was?
Firstborn. That's under my real name. And that was my paranormal romance trilogy.
And what is your real name so people can find you?
Janelle Gabi. That
is awesome. What made you decide to have 2 names? Is it because of the YA?
Yeah, when I self-published the trilogy, I did the first 2 books in the trilogy self-published. And I guess, because the publisher, because it was different genres, and I think because I self-published, they wanted to have Dog Girl completely under a whole new name.
So are you have an agent for the other series?
Yes, I have an agent for Dog Girl. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I always hear that they usually, like, literary agents want you to, if you've already written something, either to write under a different name or make sure you're able to differentiate the two. It's not always due to like if you want to write YA and erotica, or not quite that of a big discrepancy, but you kind of still want to differentiate that they typically want. Is that something that they like required of you to actually do, or what kind of conversation do you think you had, remember having with them about that?
Yeah, agent didn't, it wasn't my agent, it was the publisher.
Hmm.
But I asked my agent why, and she said it has to do with book sales and distributors and bookstores. Um, they they just want it to be like, how would I say this? Like a clean slate, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a new one. I have not heard that one yet. That's cool. I mean, the name Gabi Justice is awesome, but
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And that was something the publisher said. She goes, I love that. That's so YA. So
that's so YA. Your name is so YA. Things you never think you're going to hear this lifetime. Oh, so you went to school for English. So let's go back. We're gonna teleport in time. We're going back to your decision to study English. Did you write when you were younger?
no,
Oh,
I know. I was in theater. I was totally into acting and dance. I could act, I could dance, but I couldn't sing, so I wasn't the trifecta. But yes, I was in theater. I was in drama. Then I thought about journalism. I switched schools like 4 times, and then so I don't know how I ended up in literature. I ended up.
so you switched schools 4 times. This is a fun path. I'm enjoying the ride on this particular path. I did a ton of theater when I was younger too.
Mhm.
I didn't have the dancing as much. I had the singing and the acting, but nowhere near like Broadway level. Like I could pull off a local chorus line. But what made you decide to study English after these jumps? Like, how do you go, you know what? I am going to study English. Because most people who do that are like writers or they want to be a teacher. Like, those are usually the people studying English. So,
I know, and I was actually considering law school. So, but I didn't want to do political science, and they were like, "Well, English is a good one for law school." So, but I mean, loved reading. I didn't read a lot. I was kind of a slow reader, but I read a lot of plays. Plays were what I read mostly, and it just I just fell into it really.
so then you go to school and you start learning English where you have to do papers and write stuff
Mhm.
because that's part of the English language. Weird. And so what made you kind of decide, like, I'm going to write a book?
I guess reading back then, I was into Daniel Steele and the romances, and I thought I could do it.
Well, obviously
Nope.
you could. So you're like, then what? How do you go from Daniel Steele, who is not paranormal at all,
Mhm.
and you're like, I'm gonna write about paranormal stuff. So did you get like a True Blood thing happen? Like what happened that you went, I'm gonna write paranormal romance?
Well, I didn't. At first, I wrote these two books that were kind of total romance. Um, One had a little drug, like they were drug runners or whatever, Miami, and but like I said, they weren't very good, and I didn't have the what do you can't find the word discipline. I didn't have the discipline to edit, and I didn't want to edit. I was lazy, I guess. I was young, I was lazy. um and then I fell into writing advertorials for a medical magazine, and so I just did that.
I think I fell into
Young
writing
and
medical
lazy.
advertorials. Said no one ever. So you start down this path. So you said you have a series, but you only have two of the three?
Yes.
Okay.
So and what happened there is my kids were now teenagers. We're watching and reading Twilight. We're watching and reading Harry Potter, Divergent, Hunger Games, and I was like, this. I was more into it than my kids were. And and that's when I said, oh, I want to write something like this. And my daughter was doing a paper on the Civil War. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I got fascinated with history, which I never was before. And now all of a sudden I love history. And I just, immortals started flowing in my brain because I thought, well, how could you go to this? How did all these people die? Maybe they didn't die. Maybe there was a immortal society behind the war. And I don't know, my brain went a little crazy. And so these two books just spilled out. And then the third one didn't come and I wanted the third one to be good. I didn't want it to suck. So many times I had read the last book in the trilogy, and I thought, this really is just horrible. So I didn't want that. And then Dog Girl popped to my head. So I shoved the other two aside and started writing Dog Girl.
Okay. So are you going to come back to it? Your fans out there need to know whether or not you're coming back and finishing. We had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and she was talking about that because she was saying it was Jody Lynn and I, and she's been writing since the 80s. And she talks about how many people start trilogy arcs and then don't finish them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you read one or two, and that's why a lot of readers, if it says it's a series, won't start buying until there's two or possibly three, depending how many books out, because they don't want that to happen where they're stuck in there's only one of this series. So
Yeah.
where is this series at? When is the
It is finished finally. But yeah, I being self-published, I heard that. Of course, I heard that I was one of those people that jumped into the pool too early. And I learned later that I should have held off. But I don't regret it because I learned so much self-publishing. And I kind of held back on the marketing. I'm like, okay, when my series is done, then I'm gonna go balls to the walls, with my marketing. But it never happened because I never got to the third book. And I did let down some people, and I felt bad because they were like, where is it? And I'm like, I'm working on it, I swear. But I finally finished it. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna really promote. And instead of that, I ended up submitting it to a few indie publishers. And and I'm going to announce it on right now. Nobody knows yet. I'm going to announce it December 1st, but this will air after that. So I'm safe, I guess.
Yeah, you're totally safe.
Hearn Publishing picked it up. So they're going to publish it. Excited.
Congrats.
That is exciting, especially because it's a part of a series where a lot of publishers won't go down. Are you moving all three books to them?
Yes, all three.
Very cool.
She's going to do Firstborn 2022. And then the other one will be 2023 and 2024. So.
Wow. How do you feel about them coming out so far apart? So we have a theory is that one of the good things so readers are voracious, right? Reading is actually more cool than I think it used to be even a little while ago. Readers are voracious. So that's one of the things that self-publishing gives you the advantage of is you're not waiting 5 million years for the next book to come out, right?
Yeah.
The next book comes out in as soon as you want to get it done. Like we've interviewed indie authors that are now our besties, and they end up one of them writes 10 books a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was blown away when I heard that. I was like, gosh, I would just be happy just to finish one book in a year.
And some authors think that way, but your fans go, I have to wait an entire year for the book. And that's a long time necessarily, depending to wait. When they said we're going to put it out in these years, I mean, it's exciting to get a publishing contract, but at the same time where you're like, but two of them are already done. Like,
I know.
Like, can't we just put them out?
Yeah. And when I was before I decided to go with them, I was going to do that rapid release. I was going to re-release the other two. And then the third one, I was going to do it probably 2 weeks or a month apart. That was my plan. But I hope it's okay, the 1 year, but yeah, I did. And then it's so far, you think of 2024 and it seems like a million years away, but I know it'll get here fast.
It
It'll pass
will.
us off,
Is
but
there more than 3 in that story arc? Have they commissioned more? Or they just want the 3.
just the 3. And then we'll see. I don't, and it's funny, it's a storyline where I love the characters, I love storyline, and I would like to explore more. But then again, yeah, I have new ideas. So
Well, I think with you having all that time between releases, it'll give you time to like think like, okay, maybe I can expand on this series or, come up with something brand new. So you'll have time because I mean, even while you're waiting for those, you want to keep making sure you're creating new stories and new books so that you have the next thing ready and lined up for when that series comes to an end.
yeah, yeah.
No, no, totally. So those are coming out. Let's talk about Dog Girl.
Yeah, Dog Girl's out now. It's YA. It's funny. I have a funny story about YA. I always read it as yaw. So I would say yaw. One time I was pitching at a conference, I was pitching an agent and I said yaw. And I was like, oh, this is so humiliating. But now, yeah. So it's young adult contemporary romance. And it's about a girl who lives and works at a dog rescue center. And she suffers from anxiety. And a video of her rescue of a pit bull goes viral. So that she's thrust into the spotlight. Um, there's that. And I don't want to give away too much, but if you love dogs, you're gonna love it. Some of the dogs become characters, which was fun. I love dogs. I've had so many dogs, and they'll fall in love with them. And then it's great for mental illness. I've had a lot of young girls tell me that it really spoke to them, that I was happy about that because I wanted that to be a comfort. People, diverse thing. Oh my God, I'm already getting.
I love that. I had a shot. I'm good.
um,
We're not even halfway through the interview. It's going to be fantastic in literary briefs. I can already tell.
so
Where did this story come from?
it originated on an airplane watching pit bulls and parolees. I don't know if you've ever seen it on Animal Planet.
No.
Tia Torres has a pit bull rescue and she hires parolees. So it's second chances for parolees and the dogs. And it's a huge show, a lot of fan base. And I was watching it on the way to Puerto Rico. My daughter played junior tennis. All my kids play junior tennis, but they were playing an international tournament in Puerto Rico. So I'm watching this show and I'm like, that would make a great setting for a book, especially a young, kids, everyone loves dogs.
That's true.
I mean, so, and I just a young girl saving dogs. And then so when we got to the tennis tournament, he played. There's a lot of downtime, the kids all hang out. I didn't know a lot of the parents, so I have my laptop. So I just started writing away, and I think I wrote about half or a quarter of the story right then and there.
That's amazing. So is this a potential series?
No, this is a standalone.
Okay.
No, probably not. There's one character. There's one of her best friends. His name is Jimmy, and he had a football accident. He was in a wheelchair. So I thought his story might be kind of cool to tell. But.
So you have book 3 almost done of the other one. What is coming up next then? What are you typing away on right now?
I'm writing away on Tennis Girls. All the little dirty stories from our life at junior tennis.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna dish on all the dirt.
I'm gonna dish on them all.
Is it gonna be YA?
Yes.
That's exciting.
It's gonna be more Gossip Girl or Have you read the book Dare Me? I don't know. I can't remember who the
Oh,
author is.
isn't that like a series, Dare Me, or
I
like Dare You?
She does
Yeah,
I don't know if it's yeah, I don't know if it's a series, but it's a lot. It's cheerleading
okay.
and the wicked world of cheer. So,
Oh, that is a wicked world. I concur with that. Well, that sounds awesome. So when is that set to release?
I don't. I'm still in the editing phase, going back and forth with my agent. Like, not ready yet. It's not ready yet. Fix this.
Oh my goodness. Let's talk about editing for a second. So you went the self-published route. What made you decide to jump the self-published route? Because it seemed easier? Or did you shop and get rejections and then went, screw it, I'm going to self-publish?
Yeah, the self-published route. I had written the book. I'd written Firstborn. Went to a bunch of conferences and learned I'd done so many things wrong. Was getting feedback, and got a lot of rejection. One of the best things I got though from an agent, he's like, you need a critique group. So I found a critique group, really helped. But but in the critique group was a friend of mine who was big on self-publish, and she's like, just self-publish. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm gonna do it myself, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. But
Where did you get the covers from?
I have a printing company. My husband and I own a printing company, so I have a lot. But we can't print books. Believe me, my husband tried to print my book. The you know the is it the alley?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think is it called an alley? I was like, honey, I can't even see the words. They're stuck in the crease. We're not book publishers. We're brochures, flyers, business cards, that stuff. But
Well, you get all the self-promotion items then, which a lot of authors take for granted
yeah.
in doing that. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. We are at the 30-minute mark though, so I'm going to take a quick break and we will be right back with Drinking with Authors.
Sample locally sourced, quality distilled spirits in the beautiful Columbia River Gorge. At Skunk Brothers Distillery, we're family owned, brewing small batch grain to bottle spirits, just like our grandfather did back in the Prohibition era. From handcrafted bourbons and moonshine to flavored blends and cordials infused with local fruit. Join us for a tasting tour and buy Skunk Brothers spirits straight from the source.
It's all in the family at Skunk Brothers Spirits, located in Stevenson, Washington.
Okay, we're back. Okay, so did you have your first book edited when you decided to self-publish?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, how did you do research for editors, and like, how did you find one, and I'm curious, because I'm an editor as well, so I always love to hear people's different experiences. Like, was it a good one? What kind of relationship you had? Was it, communication? Just what was your overall experience?
The beginning editing process, I didn't hire anybody. I just went through. I guess you wouldn't call it editing. It was more beta reading.
Okay.
Trustworthy confidants that helped me. But then when I was selling it at a book venue. She was like a Harvard graduate. She edited textbooks or those kind of books.
Education
for job books.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she said, hey, would you mind if I edited your book as just because she wanted to get into editing for fiction. And I was like, yeah, because I knew how expensive editing was. So she was a big help. I was like, yeah, she found a lot of things. So then I re-released it, being self-published. I fixed it all and sent it out that way. But I have learned that editing is very important and very expensive. Ranges.
Editing can be super expensive, but it's more expensive to lose the people wanting to continue reading your books if your editing is terrible or there's no editing at all. They say that's one of the biggest things about self-publishing, and especially in the beginning of self-publishing, Now more so, people are really getting you need an editor.
Yeah.
But that was sort of why self-publishing was like this disdainful process, because it was the books nobody wanted, so the authors did it themselves.
Right. And I think like what I hear is normally a common, problem that people don't normally do is they get put off by how much editors cost, but you don't understand how extremely valuable it is to have one with that level of skill set to go in and critique your work, because your beta readers are great. They are actual readers who are looking at your work and they're able to say, yeah, this is great, or no, this is not working. But most of the times they may realize that there's nothing working, but they don't know how to articulate how to fix it. And so you need someone who is skilled to do edits and go in and be able to pinpoint the problem and also explain different ways of how you can fix it. And there's like 3 different ways to edit, because the common misconception I've learned recently is, a lot of people think that editors only just check for commas or check for misspelled words, but it's much deeper than that. There's 3 things. You do developmental edits, which is going in and seeing big world pictures. Does the story itself make sense? Are there characters disappearing in the narrative that should have been there? Going in and giving you a real depth analysis on that. Then there's the line edits, which is not just commas and misspelled words, but does the sentence flow? And that means like cutting out wordiness, eliminating passive voice and switching it into active voice. And then the final step is copy edits, which is the commas, the punctuation. Are things capitalized or italicized in the right way? And so a lot of people tend to not go that route because either A, they're fearful of someone destroying their child. But the thing is, at least I can speak as a person who's a writer who had someone else edit my work. My work, no matter how much the editor tore it apart, it always came back better in the end. And so, no matter what route anyone does, an editor is one of the most important components in the process.
Yeah, I've definitely found that.
And what about covers? Did you design your own covers?
I designed the Firstborn and First Awakened covers. We have a good in-house graphic designer at our shop, but so he's great and very helpful. But Dog Girl, I had nothing. They asked me for my input. I gave it. They didn't. It wasn't. I love the
Wasn't
cover.
what you thought it would be?
No. I was like, that's nothing like what I said, but I love it. It's cute.
It's super cute. What did you tell them you wanted, out of curiosity?
I love Rainbow Rowell, her her fangirl. And she's got these little cartoon characters, and I wanted that. I didn't want my publishing house has a lot of real people on the covers. And for some reason I just didn't want a real person. I wanted a cartoon person. I just had that feel.
If you wanted to, I'm curious because I have heard of situations where authors will get an illustrator. Have you ever thought of getting an artist that you really love? Like, if you found one on Instagram and they did a book cover for you, would they even allow you to present that as an option? Or is it no, only their in-house people can do the covers?
Well, I think it was just their in-house. Yeah. Yeah, she did. But she did a cute job. When she put the dog collar on there, I was like, I didn't even think of that, but it's cute.
It is super cute. So this, you said you went to a lot of conferences. What was your first conference like? Like the first time you brought your book and you're like, I'm an author and here's my book. What was that like?
Scary. Well, I didn't have my book. Well, my first conference, I didn't have my book yet. Well, I guess I had a manuscript. We had a manuscript. Okay. So I went to Atlanta. And they had a great one. And I wanted to go somewhere I could, here's my manuscript, and get it in front of an agent. And I thought, oh, they'll love it. And I'll sell millions of copies, right?
So saves everyone.
Yeah. I learned how, that was not going to happen. So but I met great agents. I got one-on-one. I was shaking, I think. And but it was terrific. It was just getting in front of them, learning workshops.
I think
never
it's very. I think the first time I ever went, because before romantic times convention, book lovers convention used to be a thing. It doesn't exist anymore. I remember I was sweating profusely in front of like these agents trying to like pitch my book, but it may, even though nothing really came out of it, it's a great way to practice condensing your book
Mhm.
into just like a little bite-sized snapshot of your story, because sometimes we think it's impossible, but if you really sit down and get to the core of your story, it's a great way to know if you have a high stakes story, if you can really get it down to one line.
Mhm.
And it's a great way to test if you still need to do work on your own story or not.
Yeah, I don't even think I knew what an elevator pitch was. I knew
Mhm.
nothing when I went. I learned I learned in a couple
Well,
years.
talk about trial by fire. That's definitely one way to do it. So when you actually are going to sell your book, though, when you're an author, what was that like? What convention did you go to sell your book the first time?
Well, I went to BookCon in Chicago.
Well, go big or go home, I guess.
I know. I don't know who I thought I was, but
Apparently, you were a very big deal.
That's awesome.
yeah, I went all by myself. My husband's like, "You want me to go?" I'm like, "No, it's fine, And yeah, I just me and my little pulling my little suitcase with my books, and I set everything up. And like I said, like being a printer, I had the brochures, and I had the banner, and but I set it all up myself on little indie row where we were.
Mhm.
And but it was intimidating. I was walking under giant banners of huge names, and in this huge convention hall, and the mobs of people that were coming. And but it was fun. I mean, I didn't make zero money. I spent way too much money and made zero money. But the the fans, I mean, I couldn't believe how many people were buying my books. I was like, "You really want my book?"
Yeah, I
I
think it's
mean,
a great way to imagine. Like, you should always put yourself out there and go to these events, especially like that. That's amazing that you did it, because like I remember one time going to a convention and it kind of solidified that yes, this is where I want to be. I want to be a writer. I want to be among these people, and just going to the conventions and being exposed to that adrenaline and that awesome energy. It's a great experience. That's awesome that you were able to do that.
and and I still have a lot of those writer friends on Twitter. We tweet back and forth, and it's fun, encouraging.
So, how many conventions have you gone to then with your books?
I did 2 book cons. I did Tampa Times. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yep, Tampa Times down by the Bay Bureau campus. Um, I've done some at West Shore Mall, West Shore Plaza, right here in Tampa. I think that's it.
What are your fans like? So you self-published. What was that like? Did fans start? Do you have fan groups on like your Facebook or anything like that?
I had a pretty neat following for the paranormal. They probably dropped a little bit, especially since the last year. I haven't social media too much on that. I've been more Gabi Justice, dog girl, building that. So, but I still have the email addresses. To
No,
get,
that's good. Do you have a newsletter?
I do.
Very cool. How frequently does your newsletter come out for everybody?
I'm not as good as I should be. I was doing once a month for a long time, and now I'm probably doing for Dog Girl about once a month the last couple, like 5 months.
And when did Dog Girl release? It was super recently, right?
Yep, November 17th.
Oh, wow. Wow. So how was release day? Were you super excited?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I'm checking my Amazon all the time, getting happy or depressed, depending on the day.
What did
No,
it
I'm
do?
doing well though. I do.
yeah, I mean, the pandemic has made I commend any author that came out in 2020 with any releases. It's tough to begin with because you can't do like book signings or anything, but you know, but that's still amazing that you still did it beyond besides all that that's been against every author this year. But do you feel like you were able to do any virtual events or anything like that just to promote it?
Well, I did the Miami Book Fair virtually,
Mm.
but
Oh,
I don't. There's no way it. I don't think I like virtual book fairs because unless they're going to send me a report, like did anybody actually buy? Did anybody click on my page? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're going to send me that when it's over. It's not. It goes on for a long time.
Mhm.
And I'm doing another one in Gainesville that starts in January. So, but it's weird. You're not really interacting. You're not engaging.
I
I
think
no,
need.
I can't imagine doing that. I've done conferences virtually. And obviously we do drinking with authors virtually when the pandemic started, but it definitely changed in-person events. And I'm hoping that sometime mid next year, we're able to get back to the in-person events.
Yeah, I hope
But
so.
have you found that you've done more socializing with your writer friends since the pandemic started virtually, or?
Yeah, yeah. Tampa Writers Alliance. I go to their Zoom meetings once a month, and that's fun. Um,
Oh, wait. Is that the one in Carrollwood?
yeah.
Oh my God, you're like really near me. No, I go to that Barnes and Noble to go write in the cafe. I used to write in the back room.
Yeah.
But obviously, with COVID, they kind of changed up and then they put all the sales items back there.
Oh,
But I've
okay.
always actually wanted to do it. So that's fascinating. You do that, is it once a month or like how
Well,
often?
they have the critique group twice a month. They were my critique group for a long time. It's huge, like 25 people.
Yeah.
And so you find, you listen to everybody, but you'll find a couple people that you really cling to. And that's where I met Alicia Snyder that you had on, how I found out about you all.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, she is such a delight. She's very funny. She actually happened to be one of our guests that we had a series of episodes that got something happened to them. They got corrupted, so we had to re-record, and she was gracious enough to re-record with us when we had a computer malfunction with our episodes. So
Wow.
yeah, no, she's amazing. When you found the critique group, so when they gave you that advice, go find a critique group, what was that like for you at first? Because that can be daunting at times.
Yeah. And then I was looking online. I think there's an app like Meetup or
Oh
something.
yeah.
Like this Meetup. It was still confusing because I was like, I don't. It was confusing, but I finally got a hold of somebody from Tampa Writers Alliance, and that was another thing. Just trying to get people to call you back or figure out where are you meeting and can I just show up and what do I do and somehow I figured it out.
Yeah, no, I actually Googled writing groups in Tampa, and that was the one that was pretty much at the top of the list. But I don't know why I ended up connecting with a group in Orlando. So I would drive an hour away, even though there was one like really nearby me. But it's interesting how you kind of find your tribes.
Mhm.
But yeah, that is amazing. Because I know they do a lot of work, a lot of great things for the community, writing community as well. So, and right now during COVID, are they just doing virtual events, or what kind of setup do they have right now?
Well, I'm not doing the critique group anymore.
Oh,
I've been out of that for probably a year now,
mm,
and I have now a kind of a little, just three. There's three of us. Um, but I go to their once a month Zoom meetings. So they do once a month. The first Wednesday of the month they do a Zoom meeting, and then the second and fourth Wednesday they do critique groups. It just got to be too much. I couldn't.
No, so you have a smaller group of people you've gotten together. Do you have beta readers too?
I do. I don't have anybody consistent. I for Dog Girl, I reached out to these. Well, from BookCon, I met these two young girls. They were so cute, and I found out they live like an hour from me. We found out this out through Instagram. So I reached out to them. I said, "Hey, you remember me from BookCon? And you bought my books, and would you be interested in reading Dog Girl?" So they gave me kind of the young teenage perspective, but I got from them, they're cute and nice, and everything they said was great, but they're young, so they didn't want to upset me, I guess. They didn't want to tell me the bad news. So
no, being a beta reader is a specific kind of reader. It's kind of like an editor. You can have a friend that might help you with your punctuation, but they're not an editor. They're somebody helping you with your punctuation. You can give your friends the books, but it's funny is I think a lot of people, and we haven't talked about this a lot on the podcast, but you as an author should make this is what I expect of my beta reader list, and go, I'm willing to give you my book, but I want you to do that, and find a collective. So if you have people signed up for your newsletter, find the most engaged people and make them your beta reader collective, and see if they want to take that on, meaning they'll get first crack at all your books, but you want to go, this is what I want you to tell me about my book, because it's very, like, we can get a lot of people to go, that's really cool.
yeah.
That helps us not at all.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sometimes have to tell people like, hey, I can only get better by knowing your brutal honesty. I mean, it's not like they shouldn't come after you in a mean way, but they should be honest and straightforward, being like,
Right.
this is working, but, unfortunately this character, either I don't understand his motivation, or you need someone to go in and be brutally honest. And
Yeah.
beta readers only can go so far, just because they are readers. They're not, most of the time they're not writers, and so they're able to kind of give you like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed it, or I don't like this character, or you made me feel this way. But if they're feeling a certain way that you didn't intended, they 9 times out of 10 cannot tell you how to fix it. And that's why it's super important to connect with people who are trying to either be in the same kind of goals as you, so finding another writer who wants to be published, because working together and exchanging back and forth is a great way to get feedback, and you're helping each other out. Or if you have the means, then to be able to pay for an editor to really go in and do the nitty gritty work.
Yeah, that's what I found. I found that that my beta reading is better with another author, and we exchange our books. Yes, yeah, I've definitely found they will critique you hard.
That's how.
And Alicia she read Dog Girl in the beginning, and she was one of them. And I attribute the ending a lot to what she told me, because she's like, "Why did you need to do this? How would your character have acted in that situation?" Because I made this, it's the kind of a fight scene, a brawl, and it was very stiff. And she's like, "No, what would Ryan, specific to his character, what would he do? How would he fight that out? What would Kendall do specific to her personality?" So I was like, "Oh, you're right." So,
yeah,
I
it's a great way to a good editor is someone that doesn't always tell you what you have to do, because at the end of the day, you as the author have are able to make those more final decisions. But an editor should be able to shake up your current mind of thinking of story, and force you to think in a different way that you normally wouldn't. And that's what, by asking those kinds of questions, and that's how you would come to a new pathway that you wouldn't have before. And that's great that she was able to really go in there and ask you those important questions.
yeah.
Do you find do you make a lot of notes? How does your inspiration work? Because you explained how you came up with Dog Girl, which is very interesting. But do you, like, for me, I do HR, so I get this opportunity all the time to people watch, because I get to see the good and the bad of humans regularly, but I find myself watching all the time, even if I'm interacting at events, different interactions will cause me to go, oh, this is a thing, or something somebody says, or, I see a circumstance. And I write in two genres, but I write horror. So a lot of my stuff is how can this go really, really wrong, right? But where do you find your inspiration?
It comes out of the blue. Like for Firstborn, it was my daughter's Civil War paper. And then for Dog Girl, it was that TV series. For the Tennis Girl book, it's just knowing all these ins and outs of the tennis world. And I just thought that would be fun. So yeah, it's the real world. It's things like that. I do eavesdrop. I was just actually yesterday getting my nails done. And
well, that's a good place to do that.
this aunt and her 3 nieces were getting their nails done. They were jabbering away. And they're African American. So I'm like eavesdropping because they were watching Baywatch. They had old Baywatch, from 80 or something. I mean, and the girls were talking about how there was no diversity. She's like, there's no diversity in Baywatch. But I was loving to listen to their conversation and how, and just what they thought, and comparing the old with the new. And so, yeah, I
actually find it hard to watch stuff that I used to watch as a kid. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't feel the same way about this as I did as a kid. Like Friends.
Yeah.
Great funny show, but the cast members, I remember taking women's studies in college, and we talked about Friends, how unrealistic that whole setup is, and as much as it's funny, but the lack of diversity, and also all those poor people could not afford that apartment.
Right?
They could not afford that apartment.
Exactly.
So, yeah, Joey, who was trying to be an actor and all these different things, it's just like, come on, and it's interesting how much now, comparing TV today, even though we still have a long ways to go and making sure there's more representation, how much things in the past now seem problematic, and how we can grow and change from that.
Right.
So when you get inspired like that, do you take notes? Do you do voice recordings? How do you track your brilliant inspiration?
Yeah, voice for sure on my phone. A lot of things come to me when I'm driving. For some reason, my brain clicks on, and of course you can't, it's supposed to text and drive and all this stuff. So I voice notes. Voice notes is huge.
I use a ton of voice notes. Yeah.
Do you use the regular memo pad, or do you use Evernote? Which application do you use?
The regular memo pad.
Yep.
I'm not good with all these applications. I have a writer friend who loves Scrivener. She loves any gadget, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. Just give me Word.
But yeah, but there's a lot of authors that think that too. You don't have to use any of the programs. It just depends on like how your mind works. For me, I write high fantasy, so I need a lot of organization and easy ways of accessing notes. So Scrivener helps me, but I know quite a few authors that rather just like, no, just give me Word. I want it simple and easy.
And then another thing I did, I could tell you, I printed it all out, and all on my office floor, chapter by chapter by chapter, and just laid it all out, and just to make sure I guess I'm very hands-on. And then sometimes I'll make a poster board. I used to have ripped out magazine pictures or printed out magazine pictures, pasted all over my wall. So I do things like that.
Have you ever used Pinterest board for storyboards?
I haven't got into Pinterest yet, but I do want to, but I'm afraid there'll be another thing that it's going to,
You can go down the rabbit hole of Pinterest very easily. Yes.
It is. I would just as an alternative for, cutting out photos or anything. I use Pinterest and I have storyboards, but it's definitely one of those things that it's a great tool, but with any tool, you can't let it take away from you actually writing. So at the end of the day, use it, but sparingly for sure.
No, absolutely. Okay, we're nearing the end of the episode. So, Gabi, what advice would you give an author out there?
Definitely just do it. That's, for me, I know you talk about pantsers and plotters a lot on the show too. And I'm definitely a pantser. I'm you have to learn through making mistakes, and you have to learn by getting out there, and I put it off for years, I mean, my kids are grown. I put it off for years, and I wish I'd started younger, but
Well, you still got plenty of time to get lots of writing done.
Yeah.
So since you have two different names, let's do a little shameless, oh my goodness, well, that shot's there. Shameless self-promotion of both. So how do people find you?
Dog Girls everywhere. Wherever you can go to, Saturday. Well, that's right. I forget we're not airing until a long time from now. But it was right now. It's Saturday is Shop Small Saturday right after Thanksgiving. So definitely go to your local bookstores and ask for it. They'll probably have to ship it to you, but if you ask, that would be great. And Amazon, it's an ebook and a paperback.
Wonderful. And then if people wanted to follow you, you have Facebook, website, Twitter.
Everything's Gabi Justice. I think it's all Gabi Justice. Some of them might have an underscore, or www.gabijustice.com. Gabi with an I. So.
Awesome. And the other name you write under, your real name, how do people find you there?
Janelle Gabai Books is a lot of things are out there. Janelle Gabai Books. That's my website, janellegabay.books.com. But the books are actually, I've taken them off. I took them off Amazon a while ago. Of course, they're still out there, I guess, because once they're in the system.
No, once they're out, they're out. It's the internet.
So the re-releases won't be out till 2022. Gosh, I can't believe it.
2022 is going to be the first release.
The first re-release.
Re-release. Got it. And then 1 year after each other, you'll have all three. And are you planning on writing anything else under that name?
Gabi or Janelle?
Janelle.
I love the paranormal romance, fantasy. I love all that stuff. So I definitely am planning to write more books.
Perfect.
Under my real name.
Awesome. You have been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for being here with us.
So much.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm so glad. So this has been Drinking with Authors. I've been your host, Erica Lance.
And I'm Vanessa Valiente.
And we'll see you next time.